Hey, what's up, everybody? Today is basically just an update on where we are and, you know, sort of things are settling down. So now we can start to look at history and kind of figure out, what this is, right? Obviously, when we go to things like Total 3, it came all the way down to the bull market support band. We had a complete almost complete ABC. Not sure if it's finished yet, but it looks pretty good. The reason why I don't know if it's finished yet is because when you look at Bitcoin, we're still not quite there yet. So that's the issue that I have. All of this ETF money and Bitcoin at an all-time high. It's very People are very stubborn to sell. Well, I mean, why would you sell Bitcoin when you haven't broken the all-time? I mean, you're right at the all-time high, right? So once this thing breaks, it breaks. So why would you sell it? I mean, I can see being very nervous down here selling. Like that's where a lot of the altcoins are. They're much further down on their range, so I can see that, right? But you have the Bitcoin halving, you have the Bitcoin ETFs, you have Bitcoin at near all-time highs. You have Bitcoin bullishly consolidating. You have Bitcoin above the bull market support band. You have Bitcoin outpacing the alts big time. So why would you sell Bitcoin? You wouldn't, right? Well, at least retail wouldn't, but a trader who sees, right, one, two, three, four, five waves coming from a move that's also in itself five waves, one, two, all of this is three, four, and five, you would expect some type of correction, right? And at that point, you would expect the price to come back down to the bull market support band, but it hasn't, right? It has not done that yet. So, we talked about this for weeks now, what this could be. Basically, the two big ideas was this is a rise, a crash. We come up into a retracement, and then we come down into reaccumulation, and then we go sideways. That's really been the hope that that happens. And if we can go sideways for a little while, and we can catch up to the bull market support band, hopefully. But this move down is going to tilt it a little bit, not so angled up. It's going to be more curving, right? So it might take a little longer. But anyway, it's a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout. Um, I've fallen out of favor with that one, probably because of the bull market support band being so low. So it wouldn't really make sense. So the other idea, which has also been, the main idea, it's the same thing. It's still an A, B, C, right? So the thing is with the C leg, is it a flat, right? If it was a flat, you kind of want it to come up and take out the high, then come down, right? And then it creates this flat pattern. But Bitcoin didn't do that. So it looked like a simple A and a B, right? And now we get C. So A, B, and C. And we can come down here. The problem is, right, if that happens, the altcoins are already down at their levels. I mean, they're already, you don't want them to move any lower, especially XRP. And we're going to get into XRP. And and I actually called a couple guys, hardcore Elliott guys, and I had a conversation about what this is, and then I happened to catch blockchain backers markets in the morning. I usually don't watch his markets in the morning. I only watch his videos, just based off time and things like that. I don't have much time, so I just watch his updates, his videos, or I'll just kind of watch the first 10 minutes. But I happened to catch it today, and I wanted to respond to what he thought this was. And I'm going to tell you my thoughts on that. But before I do that, back to the total three and back to Bitcoin, we can see, right? Um, talking about that flat structure, if the low is in, right? If the low is in, which it totally could be, right? For Bitcoin, I mean, it looks like the altcoins, they look more like they're finished, but Bitcoin doesn't, right? So the reason why I say that is because we have this B wave didn't take out the top. So you would think we would take out the low, A, B, C, and then get down to the bull market support band. But when you look at total three, so here's the thing. When you look at total three, it's a beautiful expanding flat. Not only did we come up and take out the high, A, we came up in a B wave, right? This was a flat, and we were talking about this for a while. Then we come down in a C leg, right? So, and we came down and perfectly hit the bull market support band. That's it. And if this was Bitcoin, I would be like, boom, the bottom is in. Let's go. It looks really, really good for a bottom and a reversal. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. Usually, you get a big reaction off the low, like a dead cat bounce, and then you come back down. Sometimes you'll come all the way back down to challenge the lows, and it'll just grind its way down, and it'll make you think, oh, we're going lower, right? It's kind of like torture, right? Instead of it ripping the band-aid off, sometimes it just kind of it creaks down, and it just makes you think, oh, it's psychologically, right? Like Monday, it's a red day. Tuesday, it's a red day. Wednesday, it's a red day, right? Thursday, it's a red day. And it just makes you think that we're going to take out the low. But all it's doing is just kind of correcting down to the low and then kind of coming back. And then you have a three-wave shape, right? When you start building a base and then you start accelerating to the upside. That's typically how it happens, is you come back down to the low. Now, if it comes quickly and it doesn't take so long, then there's a chance that you can wick below and then come right back up, and you create divergence between this wave and this wave. And that would make sense if Bitcoin did come back down. So I'm not sure how alts would fare. It seems like they wouldn't get beat up so badly because, if you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, if you look at XRP or Ethereum versus Bitcoin, if you look at, things like that, they seem like they're pretty oversold and they need a reversal coming in soon. We're going to get into Theta as well. And, the same thing kind of with Theta. We had a beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, 1, 2, 3, B. I would have liked to see the B wave come up higher. That would have made more sense, but it was more of like a flat B wave, right? And then now we're impulsing down in wave C. So you can argue it's finished. 1, 2, you could say 3, 4, 5, or you can say 1, 2, all of this is 3, this is 4, and we're going to come down, sweep the lows, make that 5, and then kind of bottom out. Maybe this is your left shoulder, right? And now you're creating your head. This is all very preemptive, by the way. You're not really supposed to, you're not supposed to do that, as they say. You're not supposed to call out a head and shoulders until you're right about here. But I've been looking at charts for a while to know that there's always a good possibility that this is the shoulder and we could sweep down for a head, right? And that's kind of how I would see it kind of developing. Now, that's just an idea. It's very speculative on how it bottoms out. The thing is, it's really going to depend on Bitcoin. You can see right? When you hit a bottom, you start to flag. You flag up. But these flags usually break down because it's a bear flag, right? The question is, they can either, break down and then come back up, and that would be a 1, 2, 3 or ABC, right? And then they can work their way back down to the lows before bottoming out. But it's again, it's very early to know how it's gonna work itself out in here. Um, the important thing to understand is not exactly what it's gonna do down here. The important thing to understand is we got there. This is a good thing. We came down exactly where we needed to be, and we reacted off of it. So as long as the weekly candle doesn't close below the bull market support band, it's still technically bullish for theta. Now, it can, right? If it could, but as long as Bitcoin does it, that's really what matters. But you really want to see theta from a structure, from a technical structure perspective, holding above here. And look at that. We beautifully wicked off of it. So you could look at the weekly candle. This is a brand new week, and this week is trading below this weekly candle, right? Which makes me believe we're probably going to wick down here at some point. Again, you can see this one wicked into it. This one will probably wick into it as well. So if this one can hold, right? I think I talked about that yesterday. This one's kind of like a indecision candle, right? And you wick down, and then the next candle, that's kind of the one you want to start. Maybe you have two of these indecision candles. The next one you want to start breaking out, or start reversing, I should say. So I go back to this correction down here. I mean, look how long it took, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of testing down here. And so far, we're only on our second week, and our second candle hasn't tested it yet. But, so let me just, for a visual perspective, I can take this fractal here, just so we can get a visual, something like this, right? And that's kind of what you want to see. And that's kind of what I've been anticipating since back in October, is us getting back up here. So if that's the case, it would look like a beautiful, it can either be a 1, 2, 1, 2, or it could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we spend quite a bit of time in the retracement levels trying to work itself out in here, right? Maybe you get a dip back down. For example, if I put the retracement here, and let's say we get all the way up to that, $7, $8 range, we can come all the way back down, to $3.60 to about $3, and just work ourselves out in here before deciding, are we going in reaccumulation, or are we, going to start breaking out? But either way, it probably will be a big correction in these retracement levels, because this is where the most resistance is. You can see from here, this cluster of weekly candles in here, you just drag it out. It's definitely a lot of resistance, so we'll see how that occurs. But we're not even close to there. I'm just kind of giving us something to look forward to, right? Not financial advice. Anything I say is not financial advice. I could be wrong, but so far we've been right. We talking about Wyckoff down in here. That turned out to be true. The inverse head and shoulders. When we broke above the bull market support band, talked about back testing it. We did that. We got the reaction off of it. We did that. And then when we got up here, I said we're probably into another correction. The thing is you don't know how long it takes. I mean, so far it's been 1, 2, 3, going on 6 weeks now, right? So this one back over here was actually a lot longer. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, about the same, about 6 weeks there. So pretty typical. So I think it's going to take at least another 2 weeks uh, to get out of here if it's going to reverse quickly. Um, I like I said, I caught the some people's analysis, and this is a good opportunity for a V bottom, right? So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I think everything that needed to happen happened. It's like interesting how it all just happens super fast, right? You didn't expect it to happen that quickly, but I'm kind of glad it did because now it's over with and now we can look forward. Um, so am I very bullish? Absolutely. I'm very bullish right now. It doesn't mean we can't have one more wave to the downside. It doesn't mean we can't wait a couple weeks for this thing to, you know, start turning around. But as far as the worst over, I would say yeah, I would say the worst is over, at least for theta, right? Obviously, there is a lower possibility, which is back testing. Let's see here, because look at this, we back tested the bull market support band. We also back tested the top of this wave here, and we also we may possibly backtest all of these supports down in here. So that would be like the worst case scenario. So worst case scenario, between $1.30 to $1 and say 50 cents, right in this area in here. So that would kind of be, again, worst case scenario. But if that occurs, then that means the price of theta officially back tested the breakout level, right? I mean, we did up here, but this is much more support in here, right? Or much more prior resistance. Coming back down to back test that is just like the perfect buying opportunity, probably of a lifetime for theta if it got down there. So there's always that potential, and the reason why, and I wouldn't talk about that potential if Bitcoin did not want to, if it did, I should say, come down and test it, but it didn't. So there's always that possibility. Now, going back to what I was saying over here, the interesting thing is, like, when you look at total 3, right, it did create a flat, an expanded flat. So maybe this the altcoin market as a whole is the one telling the story, right? Because if it looked like this, to me this looks like it's finished, right? Maybe we have one more little wave to the downside, right? But I don't think it'll be big. I think it'll be small. If we don't do that, then probably at least come down and test the lows, right? You want to start building a base in here. So oscillating, getting out of here, right? So, but if you ask me, I think, not financial advice, but I think the worst of it is over. There's just one little problem, but I don't know, like I said, I don't know if that's such a big deal, because if you look at, like I said, total 3, we came up, we broke the top, and we came all the way down to the bull market support band. Now, Bitcoin didn't. So maybe that means, right, all Bitcoin is doing is ranging, right? We haven't broken the range yet. So it's basically just bullishly consolidating. Now, what we don't want to happen is for this to turn into Wyckoff distribution, right? We don't want that. So So here's what Wyckoff distribution looks like, and good thing it didn't, follow that, right? So if it was distribution, Wyckoff distribution, you come down, right, in three, you come back up, you take out the top here, take out the top, right? Then you kind of swoop in here, and then you take it out again, just slightly, and then you start to really accelerate to the downside. Now it almost came close to forming that type of pattern. So, I mean, when you look at total three, it could have done it as well, right? Where you have this here, and then you come up, sweep the top here, and then you have triple divergence. So you have a high, a higher high, and a higher high. And that's called three drives to a high. And that's definitely probably um, um, uh, bearish divergence. So yeah, I think that would have totally ended the party there, but it didn't. So again, going back to Bitcoin real quick, and we'll talk about XRP and we'll talk about the altcoins. Um, so you can already see it coming back down. I mean, look at that. Bitcoin already got crushed back down to the lows here, right? But then when I look at total three, it's still way up here. See what I mean? Because because the rest of the market already took the big hit. It took the big hit, right? So the recovery is a lot better, stronger, right? When you look at Bitcoin, it's not recovering as nicely. Why? Because the altcoins are outpacing Bitcoin. Why? Because the altcoins already had a nasty correction and Bitcoin didn't. So that makes me okay. So now that makes me believe if Bitcoin does come down, right, and develop a C leg. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say we get one more hit to the low, 5, but we don't hit the bull market support band. We take out this, and we kind of wick through it, right? Maybe something like that, and then continue higher. If that happens, what would the alts do? Well, in my opinion, the alts probably would come down and retest the lows. They could break it ever so slightly, but it would just be a scam wick. It wouldn't be anything sufficient. It would probably just be very quickly, or just retest the lows, come back up, right? Because it's already down here. It's already at where it needs to be, right? So that's kind of how I'm thinking. Uh, what's occurring here. We only have one, two, maybe three, four, five, or one, two, three, four, five. Six rolls back up into five. Then you come down and create wave seven. That could happen. So that's kind of how I'm thinking of it. Now, what does that mean for the price of theta? Well, theta dropped 55%, so it was a pretty big fall. But basically, it would mean the same thing. Theta and the total three look very, very similar. So, I mean, Bitcoin's all the way down here, challenging its lows, and theta is, still up here. So, interesting to see if we get one more wave or if this comes all the way back down. So, something like this, where we challenge the lows before taking off. So, now looking at XRP, the thought about XRP was that this was some type of triangle, right? So we talked about an A, a B, a C, a D, and an E, right? Clearly, that's not the case. So what else was the idea? Well, that this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then we had an A. We have 1, 2, 3, B, and now we're coming down for C. So maybe C's finished. Maybe it's just challenging the lows. But it would appear that it would probably might need one more low. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's very hard to know with this one. Um, but I would think so. If it is still a triangle, it could still be a triangle technically, and we'll talk about that. And again, blockchain backer raised this argument up, um, saying that it could be basically just shifted over. Um, I called a couple, Elliott Wave guys. I talked to them, and when we have the reason I don't like it too much is we have an A, right? And let's say all of this is B, and then all of this. So the B wave would be here, the C wave here, D here, and then E here. And then he compared it to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin had the same thing here, right? A, B, C, D, and E. The problem is, if you look at wave C, it comes higher than wave A, right? So wave A is down here, C is up, right? It's a higher low. When you go back to XRP, you could see the C leg is lower than wave A. So that's a problem, right? So if that's the case, then you can say, well, it could still technically be valid. We just don't want to have body closes above A. But the body closes are way up here. So we already closed below. So there's a little bit of a gray area there. It could still work, but just know that it's not so much confidence in this, right? But obviously, it could still happen. But here's the thing. I don't think it really matters. You know why? Because if Bitcoin is getting close to the bull market support band, if the altcoins already tested it in a beautiful expanding flat, Theta looks like it's done. A lot of the altcoins look like, you know, they they did what they needed to do. So if that's the case and the market reverses, then XRP is going to reverse with it. And if it starts to reverse with it, then it is going to look like this is D. And then we get back up here and we flag out for E, and then we continue higher. But that's the thing. For me, we had two ideas, right? We had the triangle and we had the diagonal. So the triangle is kind of like halfway out the door. It's not so great. I know he said, I even blockchain backer said, we probably don't have, and I like to bring him up. If you wonder why I bring him up a lot, because he's the XRP big time chart guy, highly respected, highly likable, amazing guy, basically the leader in the XRP charting world. So I bring him up, to just express how I'm thinking about what he's thinking, right? Because his voice is very big, very wide, and it matters, right? Everybody's voice matters, but at the end of the day, um, credibility is where it lies. A lot of people who post charts, $10, $12, and it just never happens, right? Why do you think blockchain backer doesn't talk about $10 all the time? Because he knows there's a lot of work to be done, and he doesn't want to. He lives in reality, right? He's not on board with all of these crazy things. Obviously, they can happen, But that's why you want to be pleasantly surprised, not utterly resentful of that it didn't happen. So, he doesn't talk about XRP a lot because a lot of work needs to be done. Like, for example, comparing him to comparing some guy on Twitter just tweeting and showing charts, right? And then other channels pick up those guys and share their charts. And it seems like every day you have the same headline: $10 XRP, $20 XRP. It just gets old, and it basically does a disservice, because what you're doing is, you're and for me, if you're gonna say targets, you got to have a reasonable idea of a timeline, right? So I believe we will hit $10 XRP. I believe that is coming soon because we are in reaccumulation. But I don't talk about it every single time I talk about XRP. That's the difference between analyst and sensationalism, right? They want the likes, they want the retweets, they want to be talked about. Um, but one thing he did say was XRP is not trending, right? It's not trending. It's sort of just ranging, and I would have to slightly disagree with that, halfway, not fully. But here's the thing: yes, we are ranging, but I would say we are also trending. So here's our first range, right? And then here's our second range up here. So I made a prediction, and I did it for fun. I didn't do it for seriousness. I did it to reply to a comment. I had an XRP bullish outlook, and basically the comment said, "You cannot have a bullish outlook because eventually you'll be right." Right? So you have to tell us, well, when is this going to be? And I go, well, I guess that's fair. Uh, and I said, well, okay, well, I'll play along. I'll say April or May. We should break out of this range, of this yellow box. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen now. It's probably going to take maybe a little longer. But I'm still in the month of April. I still got a month and a half to be proven correct. So I'll put that right there. So not much time left when you look at it from the chart perspective. But basically, you know, that's just another reason why timing is so hard. But back to what I was saying, basically, yeah, we do have a range, but we also have a trend. We have one, two, three, four, five. We have a five-wave move. It is not an impulse five-wave move. It is a diagonal, right? A diagonal is waves that overlap each other. So basically, a diagonal is a second type of motive, right? It's not necessarily an impulse wave, but like all motive waves, it consists of five subwaves, and it aims to move the market in the direction of the trend, right? The difference is that the diagonal looks like a wedge, either expanding or contracting. So a lot of people say falling wedge, yeah, or contracting, but the more advanced way of saying it, right, is a diagonal. So that's the technical term, but a lot of retail likes to say rising wedge and things like that. The thing about a rising wedge is when you look at this chart, it doesn't look like a rising wedge, right? It just looks like, something like that, kind of an expanding. But the point is, he said, well, we're not trending. Well, again, I kind of disagree with that. That's the brilliant thing about being a viewer, right? You're listening to this. You can decide for yourself what it is. So typically, you'll listen to a few people and get kind of a gist of what people are saying, what I'm saying, what others are saying, and then you kind of combine it and then come up with your own reasoning of what you think, right? So for me, I do have a lot of optimism for XRP. I know he said, "Oh, like in reference to XRP, he's like, ugh, like, and I get you, but at the end of the day, um, it doesn't look so pretty, but we do have 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've been talking about that for a long time, basically saying we can get an A, B, C. But instead, we got a complex B. This was a complex B wave, right? And now we're getting C. So we have an A, we come up for B, and now we're getting C, right? So now you can see the 3 waves, right? So let me just label it here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we also have an A. All of this is B. And now we're coming down for C. Now, is C finished? It could be. It could be kind of like a truncated C wave, or even part of a flat, but it doesn't look so good with this B wave not getting closer to the top of the A wave. But the thing is, XRP kind of moves in corrective patterns, but it also moves with the rest of the market. So if the rest of the market is finished, then why wouldn't XRP be finished? You know what I mean? If Bitcoin still has to go down to the bull market support band, then we can see one more wave to the downside. So, we got a beautiful situation here, right? Yeah, it doesn't look so nice because it doesn't feel good, because we got crushed from 63 cents all the way down to 42 cents. But look, we're back above, we're almost at 50 cents, right? So that's pretty good. That shows buyers are stepping up to the plate and defending the area. But again, we talked about this, right? This being a beautiful diagonal, and we have a B wave, and now we're going into C. So this whole thing becomes 1 and 2, and now we're waiting for wave 3. So this whole thing, right, is an up wave. This whole thing is a corrective wave, and now we're waiting for the next up wave, right? The next impulse. So that's how I've been thinking of it. Regardless, if this is a triangle or not. Yes, it could be still a triangle where we have A and then B, and then all of this is C, and then we get D, and then we get E. But if you look at wave, sorry, I got a call here. People just, telemarketers all the time, they just keep calling. So call that number and tell them to go screw off. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Or do it. I don't care. They just bug the heck out of you. They call and, we want to give you solar panels. Well, I already have solar panels. Oh, well, what about new windows? Nah, no thanks. Bye. Every other day they call. Okay, back to the charts. Sorry about that. Basically, what I was saying, it doesn't matter if this is a triangle anymore. If this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, this is E. If that's great. But that's just another supporting argument for higher prices. But the main supporting argument has always been this diagonal with this 3-wave move. And then also, we talked about the potential of it breaking support, right? So if I put a trend line here, we wicked below it, right? So look at this. XRP got crushed to the downside, but look, the week closed above the swing low, right? So that's actually a good thing. So the price closed above the range. We wicked, and that's actually a good thing. I like how we close above it, but then we wick below it. When you wick below, you have all of this liquidity here, because here's all the stop losses right here. So when the price comes down, it basically taps into all that liquidity, and then it basically wipes everybody out, and then it absorbs the liquidity, and then the market makers take it long, and now we're resting above support. So we really want to hold above this line, right? Because we already wicked below it. So we really don't want to come below it. If we do go below it, again, you look at it like this. This is part of a reaccumulation range, right? Just like how this down here was a part of a reaccumulation range. And I've used this example before, but essentially, right? Actually, let me do this. We have a horizontal trend line, right? And we come all the way down and we take out the low. And look what happens. As soon as we take out the low, look at this. We wicked way below it. A lot of this is a scam wick. But essentially, we took out the low and then bam, that was the point. That was the moment when XRP exploded to the moon. So is that the case? Well, sure in the hell looks like it, because when you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, right, we are totally at the lows, right? And look at this wave. We have a beautiful 5-wave move here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all of that's 5. Extended 5th wave. So I think and with crazy divergences as well, you can see when we get down here, let me zoom out. You can see every time we get down to this level, that's when XRP explodes to the upside, right? We get down to the yellow box, we explode. We get down to the yellow box, we explode. We get down to the yellow box, right? So, I'm thinking this is what's probably going to happen. Now, when you look at alt pairs, they're not nice looking as far as wave structure. Basically, when you look at alt versus BTC pairs, basically they're oscillation ranges. They're not trending. They're oscillators, right? So you're oscillating to the downside, you oscillate to the upside, oscillate to the downside, oscillate to the upside, oscillate to the downside. And now this is big time accumulation down in here, right? So this is a rise. This is a crash. And we haven't had a retracement per se, but we have had reaccumulation. So I would expect a big fat retracement, or at least, getting back up here into these retracement levels. So to me, that's kind of what it looks like. And we're in the buy zone right now, right? So you got to understand the big whales that hold Bitcoin. They got thousands of Bitcoins. You don't think they see that chart? You don't think they're looking at this thinking, wow, Bitcoin's at an all-time high. XRP versus Bitcoin is at an all-time low. So they're probably dollar cost averaging ever so slightly into this yellow range in here. Now the range is big. Obviously we can go lower. But if you look, we have developed a trend line, right? So yes, that this is an oscillation range, but it's also higher lows, right? So you have a low, you have a higher low, and then you have also a higher low. Now it did break below the trend line, right? It did break below it. So that could be a good thing to, because again, liquidity, it's all about liquidity. So if you have a trend line and you break that liquidity, you still have a higher low, right? So here's the low here, right? And then this is a higher low. So, forgetting the trend line, you have a low, higher low, higher low. So I think we're in a very interesting situation. Dogecoin. Now, just looking at a meme coin, I mean, look at this. Dogecoin didn't even react, really. I mean, it had a big dump, but when you look at this chart and you zoom all the way out, it doesn't look like anything. It looks normal, right? So to me, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you had divergence between these two waves here. You came all the way down, almost to the bull market support band. So we'll see if you find support. Now, Dogecoin has a lot of wiggle room. It could technically come all the way down to 10 cents and still be very bullish, right? So, but let me finish up with XRP and then we'll talk about that. So, just to recap here with XRP. Now, this is a different chart. This is a better looking chart, right? We don't have that big scam wick, but look at this. Here's the resistance, or here's the support right here. So you can see exactly what you did, right? We came up, we held support, we came up, we came all the way down, we broke support, we grabbed that liquidity, we broke the trend line, and look at this. This weekly, or let me go to the weekly chart, because I was going to say that weekly candle closed below. This weekly candle did not close below. Look at that. And look, you know, we could potentially be right here, right at this candle here. Right? And then look how it starts to accelerate. But look at this massive wick. It came all the way down here and it took everybody out. So we have also a trend line here, right? So just focus on this right here, right? We support, we fall through support, we fall through horizontal support, we grab that liquidity, and then you take off to the upside. So when you look at the chart now, it's basically kind of the same thing. So let me put this here. So there's our horizontal line. We wicked below it. And then here is our trend line, right? Now it's kind of subjective where you put it. It's not really so pretty. I mean, if I'll just put it like that for now. So you can see the same thing, right? You can see we're at that intersection here. So I really like XRP where it's at. I think we're at a very interesting point, because I even said back here, if we do break down, then what we're going to be doing is something similar to back over here. So you can see, one more time, we have a low, we come up, support, we break through, we grab liquidity, we go. And it kind of made this M shape. We have a low, we come up, support, right? Support, we break the low, we grab that liquidity, right? It kind of made an M shape a little bit. But basically what you want to see here is it start to turn around and go. So let me actually do this. I'm going to take a fractal here. And I know a lot of people have shown this fractal before, but I want to represent it in a different way. So I'll just take the whole thing and do it like so. There you go. Here's kind of the fractal here, right? And you can see, if you overlay it, we have this way down, we come back up, and then boom, you take out the low, you find support right here. Maybe you have another little low, maybe you don't, but the point is we're very close to the bottom, and then bam, you accelerate to the upside. So that looks really good. So when I zoom all the way out, you can kind of see both situations here. So this is my final thoughts on XRP. Number one, right? We have an A, B, C, D, E triangle breakout. Same thing here. We have an A, B, C, D, and now we're an E triangle breakout. It's more complex E, right? It wasn't the triangle that, you know, the triangle back over here that BCB was talking about. Obviously, it could still be. You just shift the A wave over. But for me, I was more inclined to, to me, it didn't really matter about that. What really matters is the trend here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with an A, B, C pullback. And then you break the low, you grab the liquidity, you blast off. I don't hear too many people talking about that. So maybe that's a good thing. If everybody's talking about it, then it doesn't happen, right? A lot of people were talking about the triangle. It never happened. So hopefully nobody talks about it. So we'll see. Another thing, we have a rise, we have a crash, we have a retrace, we have a reaccumulation, and then we went sideways and we blasted off. We have a same thing here. We have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We go sideways, waiting for the blast off, right? And if that's not more bullish enough, we also have a bounce, we break the trend line, we grab the liquidity, we go. Same thing happened here, right? But this one even looks better because we have 5 waves. We have a diagonal with an ABC pullback. We broke the trend line just like back over here. We also broke the resistance line just like back over here, the horizontal line. We wicked below just like we did back over here, and we closed above it, right? So, I mean, that's, to me, I wouldn't say yuck. I would say this is perfect, right? I mean, yeah, of course, it feels like yuck. It feels like, yeah, and it feels like, nah, it doesn't feel good. But the thing is, it's not supposed to feel good. It's supposed to feel terrible, right? And that's the thing about buying the dip, right? A lot of people didn't want to buy the dip because of the war, right? There's always an excuse to label why something did something, when in reality it was already priced in the whole time. So the charts sort of predict events. They don't predict what it is. They don't predict when it is. They just predict that there's something up, right? There's something going on. So that's kind of how I'm looking at XRP. I'm very, very excited for what the future holds for XRP. Now let's talk about contingencies, right? So if we go back over here, what we don't want to see is the weekly candle, this weekly candle, right? It's only Monday, right? A lot can happen this week. It's only Monday, but we don't want this weekly candle to close below this black line, to close below 48 cents, right? So we're really close. We don't want it to close above 48.72. If it did that, if it does close below, then all that means is it's going to be a bigger C wave. And we would probably come down to this 37-cent area. Let's put the daily on. Now, you could say that it's a descending triangle, right? Where you have a descending triangle, and you take the measured move, and then you bring it down here, and then that's about, I just don't see that happening. Obviously, anything's possible, but I don't see it getting down there. What I do see is retesting this first wave. So we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this 1, 2 right in here is sort of the last line. You don't want to break that, which is about 33 cents, 35, between, I would say 34, 35 cents. That's what we want to hold. We really, really, really need to hold that. Now, If it does have a weekly close below this line, then probably coming down to 37 cents. Let's see, we got all the way down to about 43. And if it made another low, you're probably looking at 37 cents. So let me look over here. And I'll put a line probably right. So here's our breakout right here. Here's our bull flag, right? And then here's our sort of horizontal resistance. So I'll put a line right there. So that's about 38 cents, 39 cents. So that, I think I said 37 yesterday, but I'm probably leaning, between 37 and 40 cents is a really good area. So here's what I'll have to say. If we close below this black line, we're probably maybe coming down here. I just don't see it happening. I don't get it, because if you look at total, right, I can see it because we still haven't tested it yet. The total market cap, right? The really the big thing needs to happen is the total 3, and total 2, and Bitcoin really is come down and test it. So if we come down and test it, we could get a flush out in XRP maybe. But then I'm a little bit torn, because when you look at total 3, we beautifully tested it. So what I think could happen, again, we can come down and retest these lows down in here. If we do ever so slightly break them, we'll create the divergence, right? But I don't think it's going to be a big crash like everybody's thinking, right? I think we're going to be, let me zoom in a little bit. And if I had to guess, you could see this wick, right? This big, long wick off the bull market support band. So that's pretty big. So we could come down and fill, this little gap between in here, create some candles in here, maybe tag the low, break the low real quick, and then come back. And then, that I can see that happening. And if that happened, we could have some selling pressure. The good thing is it's still early in the week. So it's like, well, if we're going to dump, let's dump now. That way we can end this weekly candle on a strong note. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. Now the thing is, C can come all the way down to 40 cents. So right there. And that would be a very perfect ABC, right? And then we find support, then we go. So this whole thing would be wave 1, and this whole thing would be wave 2, and it would create this, this bull flag. So you have a trend here. I don't know why he said it wasn't a trend. I think it is. We have 5 waves. It's a diagonal, and now we're creating this bull flag. We could come a little bit lower, and then bam, I think we're off to the races. So I didn't want that to happen, but I said if it did happen, then we understand why, because it happened over here. It happened perfectly over here. Look at this. We came down perfectly, and we broke that line. We grabbed that liquidity, and then we took it right on up. Now, this didn't come down and, fill in the gap down in here, right? Obviously, it did with this wick, but some charts don't have the wick, so it's a little speculative on the trading, the exchange charting information probably was kind of sketchy back in the day, because of the lack of liquidity and things like that. I don't know, but essentially we did break that line, we grabbed it, and we continued higher. So yeah, I think I would like to see the total. So basically the goals we have is for total and Bitcoin to test the bull market support band. That's kind of the goal. If Bitcoin does not test the bull market support band, then it's going to make one more wave, and I think that'll be the last wave, and then the bear market is here. And that's sad to say, but that's the case. I think we would probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's over. Bull market's done. But the interesting thing is, that would make sense because look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5, right? And it would probably end somewhere. I'll talk about targets in another video. I want to see where this thing bottoms out, and then we can discuss targets. But somewhere between 80 and 125K. Between 80 and 125K, I'll give a more accurate target once we have this correction over with. But essentially, it would be done. And then, once it's finished, it's kind of a bittersweet thing because on one hand, you don't want it to be finished. On the other hand, you do want it to be finished because once you go into distribution, that's when the altcoins, that's when you have alt season. When did alt season come last time? Was it during this big run up? No. When did it occur? It occurred up here. That's when all the alts really ran to the moon, right? Same thing when you go back over here. They really took off sort of at the top, you know? So if we do get another wave, right? Because for me, it's all about the altcoins. When do the altcoins really perform? 1, 2, 3, 4, we get 5, and then we start going sideways. We start ranging in here, right? This ranging process, if it's distribution, we would probably rotate into the altcoins. But the thing is, we want the altcoins to, number one, break above the all-time high, right? So if I'll use theta as an example, right? So let's say Bitcoin, you know, it's up here, right? It's at its all-time high, and then it makes another wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it starts going sideways. During this sideways process is when theta really, really rips to the upside, right? So then that would mean theta, obviously, we would, as Bitcoin's pumping up, we would start to pump up, right? Maybe we get stalled out at the retracement, and then, you know, Bitcoin continues. As it goes sideways, that's when we see theta really take off. Now, not that high, but, you know, probably between that $40 and $65 mark. But we'll get more accurate targets as time goes on. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I don't think it's finished. I think theta needs to find some support, which it's doing. It can come all the way back down here, which is fine. And if it did that, it would be a 1, 2, 1, 2, which would set us up for a big wave 3, hopefully getting us above $8, right? Then we flag out 4, 5, 4, 5, and then we're at the all-time high. We have an ABC, and then we have one more wave to the upside, and that wave would probably be the big parabolic wave, and that would probably be when Bitcoin's in distribution. So that's kind of how I'm thinking of it. XRP, same thing. I think once Bitcoin, now XRP, that, you know, it likes to move last. It likes to move last. However, when it moves very fast and strong. We still have this trend line we want to break, right? So once we break that trend line, it's looking really good, right? So we have this wave here, 1, we come back down for 2, right? We sweep up to the retracement levels. You know, in order to get this move, Bitcoin needs to start moving. And then if it moves, it's in its final wave, its 5th wave. And in 5 waves, you have 5 waves within those 5 waves, subwaves. And then once it stalls out up here, that's when XRP really explodes. So when you zoom out, doesn't that look totally plausible? I mean, reasonable? I mean, just look at the chart. You have a triangle here, right? You have rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout. You have rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. It looks like it needs the breakout. Now, it's very hard to believe it. It's very hard to feel like, yeah, that's going to happen, because nobody's been led on more than the XRP community, right? People say, oh, XRP is $10. And when you say that for years and then it never happens, what happens? People seem to never believe it. They get complacent, right? And I don't blame them, because you have so many XRP chart guys out there who claim they know, and maybe they do, they just don't know the timing. But when you express that, back over in 2021, 2023, and then years go by and it still isn't doing anything, obviously people aren't going to believe it anymore. But it's when it's at the precipice, right? Right at the precipice of extinction, that's when people realize, okay, this is the case. So it's when everybody least expect it. Now, think about it. Think about the sentiment. For example, BCB came out. He goes, ugh, and if he's saying that, then a lot of other people are definitely feeling it. So the more people feel like there's all hope is lost, and they don't feel like it's going to do anything, you can get a bigger capitulation, number one, or number two, you get, like what we saw, a big liquidation, and then you start to find a proper bottom. Because if everybody believes $10, then everybody is trading that position. But the market will wipe you out, and then it will reset itself. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. So as far as the other total 3, it still looks good. And one more idea is we could probably range in here, that we could probably go in reaccumulation now. Like I've been saying, rise, crash, retrace. Maybe we're going into reaccumulation before we have the big breakout. That could happen. It just really depends on how Bitcoin wants to get down there. So if Bitcoin has now let's talk about that. I know the video is long, but trying to get my thoughts out there. So if Bitcoin loses the bear market or the bull market support band, it would then be a bear market resistance band. We would probably come all the way down here. So between 37 and 45K, around that area. So if we did that, then our original idea was correct. It just wasn't expecting it to get up here, right? The original idea, if you don't know, was rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout. Just like what XRP's done, just like what Bitcoin's done in the past, right? We have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We went sideways, and then we break out. The question is that's what's happening now? It could be. We could be going into reaccumulation, right? So rise, crash, retrace. We come all the way back down, and then we go sideways. And then we break out. And that would create a shoulder, a head, and then a big shoulder. And that would be very, very bullish. It would just suck because it would take so long, right? It would take quite a long time. We probably wouldn't see, probably not till the end of the year we would see a reversal or something like that. So yeah, it's kind of a tough spot, and the reason why it also is tough is because we only have 3 waves, right? We have 1, 2, 3, so that's an A, B, C. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 down and 3 up, which means we took out the top, it makes you believe that we're going higher, but it actually means it's a flat, right? A, we come up for B, we take out the top, then we come down for C, and then we go sideways in a running flat down in here, right? We go sideways and then bam. I mean, it doesn't have to look like that. It can obviously be, you know, like kind of like this, where you flag out in here. So something like this, right? Where you're basically, you know, you're flagging out in here. And this would be reaccumulation. And that would mean January, you know, of next year. I don't think it would take that long, but hey, you know, we'll see. If the stock market decides to implode on itself under Joe Biden, it wouldn't surprise me, right? It wouldn't surprise me at all, because a lot of the patriots out there believe that something catastrophic has to happen under Joe Biden. Obviously, a lot of already of that has happened. So I don't know. I think we need to hold above this bull market support band. That's why I would have loved to see it come down and test it back over here. And if we need to come down and test it, what would have been the perfect situation is if we come all the way down and test it and then wick above it. Now you can ask, well, maybe it's so bullish that, you know, it doesn't need to, and that could be the case as well. So, but we are hanging by a thread here. It just looks like it's not complete, right? You have A, you come up for B, and then you just need to come down for C. You finish up, and then you continue rocking it to the upside. So, yeah, that's what I would have to say. Now, just real quickly, look at some other assets here. Litecoin came down. I mean, look at Litecoin. It came all the way down to back test the low, right? It came all the way down to back test the low, and it's currently holding, which is good. And then look at what it did. It created an A, a B, a C, a big fat expanding flat. So even if we don't you know, continue breaking the top here, at least we're going to get a big bounce, a retracement of some kind. So, but usually when you get a flat, right, 3, 3, 5, usually it explode to the upside. QNT, this one broke below and then it retested it as resistance. It kind of reminds me of the XRP versus Bitcoin chart in a way, right? Where you have this move to the upside and then it didn't come down to test the low, so it just dragged out forever, and then it came down, and it'll probably come down and test it down here. Now, I don't know if that's the case right now. This one's a little bit of a head scratcher. XLM. I mean, XLM, we did wick below, right? So we have a base. We broke out of that base. We created a second base, and we basically just been ranging back test, right? So this one looks better because it looks like an A. We come up for B, and now we're coming down for C. So it looks like a nice three-way move, right? We don't have that diagonal though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not a nice looking one. Now Theta Fuel, this one definitely is very strong. It is still hasn't tested. I mean, think about it. Total 3 came down and smacked into the bull market support band. You had Theta. Did Theta do it? Yeah, Theta did it. And then you had Ethereum. You had all these coins hit it, and some of them got crushed beneath it. But if you look at Theta Fuel, it has not even came close to testing it. And that's the video I put out when I said Theta Fuel looks very interesting, right? And then now it proved itself. Remember, you can say, well, it didn't do anything, but it did. It when we had that big liquidation, it still held. It still didn't take out this low, right? There's only only Bitcoin really didn't take out its low. A lot of coins totally got smashed on their low here, on their March low. So that is very bullish. You don't measure the coin through its best times. You measure the strength of a coin during its weakest times, right? And we had a big weak moment over the weekend, and Theta Fuel was very strong, right? So we have an A, we come all the way up for B, we take out the top, and then we come all the way down for C. Now we can obviously continue coming down, right? We can come down, but the point is, we're really close to the bull market support band, and to me, it's very bullish because of the Wyckoff accumulation in here, and we're at that final phase where we kind of just do this before we do this. So, I always bring up that Wyckoff chart, right? So we could see we're right in here. So we have this boom, 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 boom. We break out, and now we're just back testing the top of this resistance. We're making it the new support. We created a big expanded flat structure, and now we're waiting for that moment. And I think that's coming very soon for Theta Fuel. Now, it does look better. This chart looks better than most charts. Ethereum, real quick. I mean, again, Ethereum came down. I mean, it's amazing, when we talk about it for weeks and it finally hits it. And it's like, is it over? Well, it would appear so. I mean, we got there, but, Bitcoin hasn't gotten there yet, right? So, again, it makes me think we might come and sweep the lows real quick. Aave, this one, look how beat up Aave got. I mean, Aave totally, compared to Theta Fuel, I mean, we're way below the back test level. We definitely broke this low, and we broke below the bull market support band. So it got kind of crushed. This one, Fetch.ai, we had a flat. We had an A, B, C. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we get one more for 5. XRP versus Ethereum. I like this because it took out the low here. Oh, come on. If I take this out, you could see bullish divergence in here. I think we got some bullish divergence from here to here. So that's good. Let's see, ADA. I'm just kind of going through the coins real quick. I know it's going to be a long video. I'm going to set it as a premiere, I think. So, ADA came down and it back tested it right down in here, which is good. We had an A, we came up for B, a big flat. This is a big expanding flat pattern. And what that means is it fakes you out. So we come up, right? We're bullish, bullish, bullish. We come down. Okay, don't worry. We're buying the dip. And now we're going to go up, 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 up. Yay, we broke the top. We broke out. We're going to the moon. But it was a fake out. Ah, man, it was all gone. And now we came down. We broke the bottom. Okay, now we're going down. But it was another fake out. And then we go back up. So it faked you out here, and then it faked you out here. It's a double juke. Like you're playing Michael Jordan or something, right? So Filecoin definitely got hit. It's kind of holding support here, but let's see, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with an ABC pullback, looking for some support. H bar. I'm gonna do a rapid fire as well. I'm just kind of seeing where all the charts are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. I mean, it could get bigger, right? This could all be an A. We could come up for B, and this come down for C, right? A, B, C, like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, and then we go. So that's kind of the concern here. If that happened, then that means Bitcoin definitely is going into reaccumulation, right? This could take all summer for this to be over, where we get a bounce, we come back down, and then we go. So that kind of looks interesting. Chainlink, this is one of the coins that definitely broke its range massively. So it too could be working its way down, back down here before expanding higher. So some of them look really, really good for reversals. Some of them look like they still need some downside. Matic looks like it's getting, I think it could be a triangle. A, B, C, D, E, some type of triangle here. So let's see if this is an E wave, we can get a big breakout. Solana. Now Solana, I mean, it looks so overextended. We have 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 1, 2. All of this is 3. And now we're working on a wave 4. If it's a wave 4, it's probably going to be big before we get that wave 5. So then that's the thing too. Like, we're coming up to summer. Like, summer is coming, right? Summer basically means crypto goes and stalls out for a while. So maybe we just range for a while before, and then once October comes, October, November, December is usually the bullish months, seasonality, then we get that next push to the upside. Casper definitely got crushed, took out the low. But yeah, I think it's A, B, and then a C. We have a 3-wave move. If you have an up wave with a 3-wave move, that's a good sign that we're at least going to get a retracement, if not a reversal. IOTA. I haven't looked at that chart in a while. But I'm going to probably wrap it up now. I don't want it to get too long. I'll probably look at more later on. And we'll do a rapid fire. So when you look at Binance Coin, I mean, it still hasn't even tested the bull market support band. It's way, way overextended, right? It's way overextended. We had a 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5, extended 5th. So Binance Coin looks like it's not done. It looks like it needs to A, B, and then a C. It looks like it needs to come down here, which could be actually bullish maybe for crypto, because a lot of times people will trade their BNB for crypto, and then it, not sure. The Bitcoin market cap, again, I think it needs to get down here. If we hold these lows, then we could go sideways into reaccumulation before breaking out. So something doesn't seem right. But look, if you look at dominance, it looks very bullish. I mean, we had this inverse head and shoulders here. We broke out. So probably one more wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the thing, the dollar. Let's look at the dollar, and then we'll wrap it up. The dollar is getting very dangerously to a bad situation. Now, I'm hoping that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with an A, B, C pullback, and then we continue down. Let's look at the retracement level on that. We don't want the dollar. I mean, the dollar is already above the 786. We have one more retracement level, which is the 886. So that's, we really need this to slow down here. And it kind of looks like 1, 2, 3, right? Maybe we get 4 and 5. So this thing would be A, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. We get 5. We have 1, 2, 3 for B, and then so we have 5, 3, 5, right? So that's kind of how I would expect it. Now, hopefully, it's only 3, and we can start to reverse. So that's kind of where we're at there. I'll bring us more updates along. But yeah, as far as theta goes, it looks very bullish, still above the bull market support band. As far as XRP goes, it still looks really good because it's basically repeating the last time where it exploded to the upside, which is breaking resistance, grabbing that liquidity. We also have 5 waves in a diagonal, right? So I mean, we're still doing, pretty good. So we'll see how the week progresses. I mean, when you look at the stock market, it's still really high. Yeah, we'll get into it more as the weeks go. But if I had to make my guess, I would say probably Bitcoin needs one more low to the bull market support band. If it doesn't, then it would really help the altcoins not bleed as much. But I would expect the altcoins to at least revisit their low, right? If not, like let's see, let me pull up one here. Let's look at total 2. So like, for example, total 2 had a perfect ABC. If Bitcoin has to come down to test the bull market support band, we're either going to come and retest the low, or we'll sweep it just ever so slightly before getting out of here. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. So anyways, guys, that'll do it for this video. Hope you like. If you did, hit the like button and click subscribe if you haven't already. I got some interesting things I want to talk about this week, and we got to still do a rapid fire video. So yeah, it should be an interesting week. I think the worst is over, at least for now, right? At least for now. I think we're stabilizing. So the biggest thing for me is we got that hit. So that's really, really important. And we have a 3-wave shape, which is also really important. And we have other coins like Theta backtesting, right, which is also important. So it would appear like we're right there. We're close. So we shall see. I will catch you guys on the next video. Cheers.